Hey guys, welcome back to another tutorial. Today we are going to try to make an infinite runner using just Unity Playground. And this is going to be quite a challenge given what we have to work with, but I think I have some ideas on what to do to enable us to create some sort of simple infinite runner. It's not going to be the most spectacular infinite runner, but hopefully you guys can take this to another level. I'm just going to try and get this to actually work, so let's see what we can do. Okay, so create a new project in Unity and make sure you have Unity Playground downloaded and installed. If you don't know how to do that yet, please check one of my older videos, link in the description. So firstly, what we're going to do is create a spawner. So I'm going to create an empty object first. Let's rename that to spawner. Shall we call it platform spawner? It's more descriptive. Let's add a component and search for object creator area. And you'll see here it's got a section for prefab to spawn. So we need to create a prefab. So firstly, let's go to images and decide on what we are going to use for our platforms. And I'm going to use the stone 2. It's my favorite one of these images that comes with Unity Playground. And the way you create a prefab, if you remember, is to take whatever you have in your hierarchy and drag it down to your project area. And you will see that your object in your hierarchy turns blue. That means it's now a prefab. Okay, so I can go ahead and delete this because we are going to be spawning these objects. So delete that, and let's go to platform spawner again, and I'm going to click and drag the stone 2 onto that. Actually, let's rename this to stone. Actually, let's call it platform 1. So we are going to make multiple of these platforms of different sizes. And I went and accidentally moved it in. Oops. Moved it into another folder by mistake. Okay, so let's just see what we have here. So spawn interval, I'm going to change that to about 3. Let's press play and see what happens. In game, and you'll see it's creating new objects here on the left. Okay, so it's creating them all over each other. And if I just click back on scene and select this platform spawner, you'll see this little green area here is the size of the collider that comes with the spawner. So it creates your objects based on the size of your collider. So if I change the size of my collider here in edit mode, you will see it will now start creating your blocks inside there. So what we are going to do is we are going to use the spawner to create platforms and get it to start moving to the left. So in this way, we're going to create the illusion that our guy is actually running all the time. Okay, but in the meantime, our platforms are going to the left. And we'll have our guy, our character, run and jump and try and avoid some obstacles that come in the way and jump onto the platforms and see how long he lasts. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to move the spawner out a bit to the right. So this white rectangle here is our camera view. So I'm going to move it out to the right. So I click my arrow button and I'm just going to move it off screen. And I'm going to move it a bit off to the right here because I tell you why. The bottom bit here is going to be created using some very long platforms. So that's going to be our base ground area. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my platform. Let's double click on it. When you double click on a prefab in your project view, it opens up your prefab editor. So now I can go in and make some changes here. And what I'm going to do is on my sprite renderer, I want to change the drawer mode to tiled. When you change it to tiled, you will see it brings up the size option. So I'm going to change width to about 40, so I'm going to make it very long. And let's just save. Remember to keep saving. And what we can do now is there's another script and that we'll use to get the object just moving automatically, and it's auto move. So just search on add component and auto move and select that, and we want to get this to move to start moving to the left as soon as it's spawned. So the default direction is set to 1 on the x-axis. Let's change it to -1 and press play and see what happens. Oh, whoops, I forgot to remove gravity. So it automatically adds a rigid body as well when you add the auto move script. So we just want it to not fall down automatically, but stay in place on the y-axis. Let's press play, and that did not apply. Why not? The body gravity scale is 0. That's correct. What am I missing? Oh, I think just didn't apply or something for some reason. Okay, so that's creating our platforms at the bottom. And if I click on... Oh, whoops, I was expecting... Oh, I'm still in the prefab editor, so let's just click back there, and you can see now on our scene, we can zoom out and see what's happening. So, okay, this is not perfect, but what's happening here is it will create platforms, and it will create them one over the other, but you can play with this and see what works for you. Okay, you can change the timing on your spawner. So if you edit this in play mode, you can just change the spawn time, and let's change it to about 2. You'll see it will spawn a bit slower, and it doesn't seem to be taking my changes while it's in play mode. Okay, so let's change that, and so we have to stop it and change it to 2 here. Press play again. I'm just going to click on scene, since in the scene mode we can zoom out and see exactly what's happening. Okay, so that's still creating on top of each other. So let's change spawn interval to... Oh, I actually increased it, so that's why it's still going to spawn on top of each other. Let's slow that down, so I'm going to change it to 5. Click back at scene. So you'll see it'll spawn slower. But now there's a bit of an issue here. When you create 2 objects on top of each other, it's going to have friction between them, so it's going to slow down the one that's already on top of it, which is fine, because I think that gives it a bit of randomness, which we can't really do given the existing Unity Playground script. So I'm just going to leave this as is, even though it's spawning on top of each other. When it comes into the scene view, it will already have spawned. So, okay, this is spawning within the camera already, so we need to move the platform out. So, spawn interval, let's leave that at 5, and we need to move this spawner out a bit to the right. Let's press play, click on scene again, and it's creating our platforms outside of the camera view, which is great. But you see, it does leave quite a gap between your next platform. So when we create in the platforms going above it, we just need to make sure that our player has enough space to jump onto another platform on top of it. Or otherwise we need to make the spawning of the bottom platforms a bit more frequent. But in that case you might have it still spawning on top of each other. Unfortunately we cannot tweak that so well using Unity Playground, but like I said, we'll see what we can do. So what you can do next is you can duplicate the spawner. I'm just going to Control D on it and move it up a bit, and Control D on that again and move that up a little bit so you can see what I have in mind. So on each platform spawner we can change the speed, so I'm going to change them. I'm just giving them random values. So I've got the top one at 5, the spawn interval is 5, next one I set to 4, and the next one I'm going to set to 3. And I'm going to press play. Let's click on scene again. Okay, so now you see it's creating platforms at different levels. So what I have in mind is to actually create different size platforms going up. So starting from the bottom to have the big one spawning, and then the next row is smaller ones, and then smaller still going up. But we will get to that in the next lesson. I think this is a good start, and this gives me hope that we can actually do something here. Okay, so I will see you guys then. Enjoy.